Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I hope to read in the month of February. So I tentatively have about 11 books on my list. I don't know that I'm going to get to them all, but let's just go ahead and jump into it. The first book on my list is a book that comes out in February. It comes out on the 15th and it is Unmissing by Minka Kent. You may remember that last year I read The Stillwater Girls and I actually ended up enjoying that one. It wasn't a 5-star read by any means, but I enjoyed it enough and I think about it enough that I wanted to check out more from Minka Kent. So Unmissing sounds really interesting. It follows Merritt and Luca, and Merritt and Luca have basically like their dream life. They live in a coastal home, they have a promising future, and they have a growing family. But one night there is a knock on their door and it is Lydia, who was Luca's first wife, and she actually went missing for 10 years and was presumed dead, but now here she is on their doorstep. She ends up telling them this crazy story about her kidnapping and how she was tortured and she was confined and then she escaped. So Merritt and Luca feel a little bit guilty about having such a perfect seeming life when Lydia has been going through all this trauma, so they decide to help her out. But after a while, Merritt starts to feel a little bit weird about Lydia. She's a little bit unnerving and she starts to wonder, why did she not go to the police and tell them the story about her kidnapping, and what is it she really wants from Merritt and Luca? The answers, unfortunately, when they come, are terrifying because Lydia is not the only one with secrets. This book is marketed as a mystery thriller, but based off of me reading The Stillwater Girls, I feel like it's probably going to lean more on the mystery suspense side of things, but I am nonetheless really excited to check out Unmissing. I already have a theory on what's going to happen in the story, and that may be, like, I don't know if it's going to be one of those things that I can figure out or I can't, but I know that I really enjoyed reading The Stillwater Girls, so I'm excited to check out Unmissing. Next up, I have a few buddy reads. Actually, I have a lot of buddy reads for this month, or at least potential ones. But the one that I'm the most excited about is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I'm going to be reading this with Liv from Liv's Library, Lauren from Lauren Love Reads, and Elizabeth from Ponytails and Paperbacks. So this has kind of become, these are my booktube besties. These are the girls that I buddy read with, do life with, love them so much, and I'm so excited to read Sundown Motel. I have not read anything by Simone St. James before, but I have a feeling I'm really going to like her writing. And this book sounds so interesting and right up my alley. It is like a mystery thriller with possibly some horror elements as well. It takes place in a small town in upstate New York in 1982. And there's the Sundown Motel, where you have people who are just passing through on their way to better places. Then you have the locals who will sometimes stay there because they're trying to like hide secrets maybe. Anyways, you have our main character, Viv Delaney, and she is the night clerk at the Sundown Motel. And all I know is that she's gonna uncover some secrets about the hotel. I know nothing else, literally nothing else. I think there's gonna be some paranormal stuff, but other than that, I don't really know. It's like haunted hotel vibes, and that's really all I care to know. But it sounds super interesting, and I'm really excited to read that one. But I couldn't read The Sundown Motel without first reading The Broken Girls. So I'm hoping to read The Broken Girls before I read Sundown Motel, because I think I'm gonna like Sundown Motel more. So I wanna read them in that order. And I think there's a possibility that I'm going to be reading this with Elizabeth and Lauren as well. And this story takes place in Vermont in 1950, and it is kind of revolving around this boarding school for troubled girls called Idlewild Hall. There are 4 girls who are roommates, and they get caught up in these rumors that Idlewild Hall is haunted. Then one of them turns up missing. So then you jump to Vermont 2014, and you have Fiona Sheridan, who is a journalist, and she can't stop revisiting events of her older sister's death. So 20 years ago, her older sister's body was found in these overgrown fields near the ruins of Idlewild Hall. And now somebody, this like anonymous person, is going to reopen Idlewild Hall, and Fiona decides that she is going to write a story about this since she's a journalist. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that Fiona's sister's boyfriend was tried and convicted for her murder, but Fiona's never really believed that. And so now I think she's wanting to go back and kind of see the reconstruction of Idlewild Hall, since her sister's body had turned up near the ruins of the original place, and see if she can find out any secrets. And supposedly she makes this shocking discovery that links her sister to some secrets that were meant to stay in the past. And then there's something about this voice that won't be silenced. So this definitely sounds a little bit paranormal too, and I'm really excited. I don't know what it is with me and paranormal stuff. I don't really vibe with like paranormal movies, and I don't like, you know, mess with stuff in real life regarding paranormal things. But some books do paranormal really well, especially books that I feel like make you think they're paranormal, but then they're really not. I find that really interesting. So I really think I'm going to enjoy Simone St. James. She reminds me a little bit already of Jennifer McMahon, who's one of my favorite authors, so I'm so excited to check out these 2 books this month. Another book that I'm planning on reading this month is Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. I originally was going to buddy read this with Elizabeth, but I'm not sure if we're going to be able to or not because we both have just so many books we want to read. So I might be buddy reading this with her and I might not, but either way, I'm hoping to still read Middle Game. So I don't really know a lot about this book, but I love Seanan McGuire's Wayward Children series. I think this one is a little bit more of a sci-fi, maybe a little bit political novel, and it's about Roger and Dodger, and they're twins, and I think they were created by Reed, who is skilled in the alchemical arts, and I think he created Roger and Dodger to like help him ascend to godhood or something like that. This is a little bit outside of my normal read, but it's something that I'm still interested in, and I think I have the potential to like it. I also know that there's a 2nd book coming out in this series, and I had no idea it was going to be a series. I think the other book actually may be like a branch off. What do you call that? You guys know what I'm talking about, but like it's connected to the series, but it's not like the 2nd book in the series. I don't know why my brain's not working, but that made me want to pick this up even sooner just to see if I liked it, and I'm curious to see if I like anything by Seanan McGuire that's not the Wayward Children series, so I'm going to give this one a shot. Next, I'm going to go into a little bit more of something outside of my comfort zone. So in my 22 books for 2022, I really wanted to hit on some historical fiction, so I did add some to this list that were on that video, and then I added a couple of buddy reads, and actually my middle grade book club pick for my Book Lights book club is a historical fiction as well. So y'all pray for me. I'm going to be reading a lot of historical fiction. Let's just hope that I can get through it. So I guess let's just go ahead and talk about my book club pick. So that one is Letters from the Lighthouse by Emma Carroll. This is a middle grade historical fiction, and it's set in February 1941 during World War II with the London bombings. And we have Olive and Cliff, who are brother and sister, and they are evacuated to the Devon coast, and they have to live with Mr. Ephraim, and he is a local lighthouse keeper. Now, Mr. Ephraim is a little bit of a recluse. He is not used to company, and he's definitely really not thrilled about having some evacuees living with him. But Olive tries to make the best of the situation. She wants to help Mr. Ephraim out, so she starts carrying letters for him into the town to the villagers. But Olive has a secret herself. Her sister Suki went missing during air raids, and she's determined to find out what happened to her. So Olive ends up finding this strange coded note which seems to link Suki to the Devon coast and something dark and dangerous. So it sounds really interesting. My kiddos picked this book out. I'm really excited to read it with them for our book club. I think it has the potential to be really good. I have read a short story by Emma Carroll before, so I think that I like her writing, and I think that I'll probably enjoy this one. The next historical fiction book I'm hoping to read this month is another buddy read, and I'm going to be buddy reading this one with Amanda from the Curly Reader, which I'm so stoked about because I feel like, I think if we've done a buddy read, it's been a really long time, but I'm excited to buddy read Wolf by Ryan Growden with her. This is the first book in a series. I think it's a duology. The second book is Blood for Blood, so I think this is a duology, and this is kind of a alternate history type book. So it's set during World War II, and it's like as if Hitler won. So I'm just going to read the back of this because it's been a minute since I've read it, but I do know it's an alternate history where Hitler won the war or something like that. So it says, her story begins on a train. The year is 1956, and the Axis powers of the Third Reich and Imperial Japan rule. To commemorate their great victory, they host the Axis Tour, an annual motorcycle race across their conjoined continents. The prize, an audience with the highly reclusive Adolf Hitler at the Victor's Ball in Tokyo. Yale, a former death camp prisoner, has witnessed too much suffering, and the 5 wolves tattooed on her arm always remind her of the loved ones she's lost. The resistance has given Yale one goal: win the race and kill Hitler. With the power to skin shift, Yale must complete her mission by impersonating last year's only female racer, Adele Wolfe. But as Yale grows closer to the other competitors, can she be as ruthless as she needs to be to avoid discovery and stay true to her mission? I don't know how I missed this before, but it just says she can skin shift. So maybe there's a little bit of like a fantasy magical realism element in this as well. This is also a young adult novel, so we'll see. This came out in 2018. I'm hoping that I enjoy it. It's a little bit thick for me, but we'll see. I'm excited to buddy read this with Amanda. I feel like that's going to make the read a lot more enjoyable as well. And hopefully I will find some more historical fiction that I enjoy. Next up, I believe this is one of the books on my 22 books for 2022, and that is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to this one or not, but I'm really going to try because it's short, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it. It's been mixed things, so I don't know what I'm going to think. But the front says this is based on the powerful true story of love and survival, and I know it's about this man, and I don't remember what it's about, so we're going to read a little bit of this. It says, in April 1942, Leil Sokolov, a Slovakian Jew, is forcibly transported to the concentration camps at Auschwitz-Birkenau. When his captors discover that he speaks several languages, he is put to work as a I don't know how to say this in German, so I'm just going to say it's the German word for tattooist. He is tasked with permanently marking his fellow prisoners. Imprisoned for more than 2.5 years, Leil witnesses horrific atrocities and barbarism, but also incredible acts of bravery and compassion. Risking his own life, he uses his privileged position to exchange jewels and money from murdered Jews for food to keep his fellow prisoners alive. One day in July 1942, Leil, prisoner 32407, comforts a trembling young woman waiting in line to have the number 34902 tattooed onto her arm. Her name is Gita, and in that first, or Gita, I don't know how to say her name. And in that first encounter, Leil vows to somehow survive the camp and marry her. So, that sounds really sad. I don't know. We'll see if I like this one. Like I said, I've heard mixed things, but I definitely want to check this one out and get it off of my to-be read shelves and onto my read shelves. Another book that I'm really excited to read, and I feel like this one might be a little bit more up my alley in historical fiction, is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I have heard a lot of people talk about this. Again, I've heard mixed things, but I feel like I've heard more good things than bad. I feel like because this is not just a historical fiction, but it's also a mystery and it's set in the South, that I might be more inclined to like this one. I don't really know anything about this other than it's about this girl, Marsh Girl, I think is the name that she's called. It takes place in North Carolina, and there's this like mystery. I think she's like accused of killing somebody maybe. I don't even know. Like, I honestly have no idea what this is about. It just says it's a heartbreaking coming of age story and a surprising tale of possible murder. So you throw in a mystery with historical fiction and I might just like it. So I will say, I don't think that I dislike historical fiction. I just don't think I give it a chance enough. So hopefully this will be a new favorite. I guess we'll see. And the last book on my list is one that I threw on kind of spontaneously because I just talked about it in one of my previous videos, and that is Illusions of Fate by Kiersten White. This will be a reread for me, and I'm hoping that I get around to it. This is a book that has really stuck with me, that I can't get out of my head, that I remember really enjoying. I think I only rated it 4 stars, but for some reason, this was one of the first books that I read when I was first getting back into reading, and I just really liked it. I don't know, and I want to give it another shot and see how I feel about it now. But it's kind of like, it's a young adult novel, and it's a Victorian dark love story with some fantasy. It's about this girl named Jessamine, and she is studying abroad in Albion, and she discovers the secret world, and she gets caught up in a power struggle between sinister Lord Downpike and charming Finn Ackerley, and she never imagined that she'd win Finn's affections or that it might be up to her to save him. Fortunately, fate has other ideas. Doesn't that sound so dramatic? I don't know, like, this is one of those books, like I mentioned before, the cover is what drew me in when I initially saw this book because I'd never heard anybody else talk about it. And I was like, this just looks so pretty. And I don't know what it was, but I decided to pick it up. So I'm hoping to give it a reread this month. If I don't get to it, it won't be the end of the world, but I would like to, just to see kind of how it measures up today. Okay, that is going to be all of the books that I hope to read in February. Like I said, I have no idea if I'm going to actually end up getting to all of these because 11 books is a little bit of a steep kind of list for me, because usually my months kind of bounce back and forth between I'll read a lot this month, then I won't read as much this month, and January is the month where I read a lot of books. So we'll see if I can get to all of these, but let me know if you have read any of the books in this video and what you thought about them, and then tell me one of the books that you're most excited to read in February. As always, I appreciate you guys so much. If you don't mind, go ahead and hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications whenever I post a new video. I love you all so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, friends.